What up, you fan levitardians? We are back. Nasty Nate rolling solo today. That's what happens when the Cowboys lose, I guess. Brian, he's still recovering, folks. Hang tough, Brian. Someday the Cowboys will be back. Well, folks, what are we talking about today? Well, I thought that since it's getting closer, we should talk some about Viva Mas Miami. Specifically, I want to throw out what are things I'm going to be there Thursday, maybe Friday, depending how I feel, because it's going to be a tight window for me. I'm dropping my kids off at daycare or their preschool early in the morning, then driving over to Vegas, catching the show, then leaving and driving back to pick them up in time before 6. So fingers crossed that all works out. But I've been thinking, what do I want to see there? What do I think fans want to see at Viva Mas Vegas? First off, very exciting. The show has mentioned that they've been wanting to do some on the road shows and bring Mas traveling, and obviously Las Vegas is a perfect place for that with Viva Mas Vegas. So what are the things that I want to see? Maybe I'll do a top 5. Okay, so OLI. Someone's got to go in the pool. Okay? It's at circa whatever, and you see all the pictures, there's a pool. They used to walk into the ocean. Multiple people are going to have to walk into the pool during this show. That's got to be a bit that happens, and maybe fans jump in the pool with them. I don't know. So number 5 then, zip lines. I don't think this will obviously be a part of the live show, but would love to see them try to get some people on zip lines. I don't think they're going to get Mina Kimes back on a zip line, although that was all-time content for the show. But you gotta get something in the zip lines. Number 4, Tony's top 5. It's got to happen live at one of the shows. Tony doing something surrounded by fans. They've been doing his top 5 in different places. That's going to be a must to set up the Super Bowl. Tony's top 5 observations. Blow it all out. Go nuts. Number 3, Kenny G. Will they be able to bring back Kenny G? I think that, honestly, there was that stretch when they had Kenny G on the show, Super Bowl week, and still, Super Bowl week, I think, for me, is my favorite time of the year for Le Batard Show. It's going to be awesome to be able to see the show live. So very excited about that, because Super Bowl week, those 2 weeks leading up to it, I think that's my favorite time of the year to listen to the show. The most creative stuff that they do. Really enjoy it. So looking forward to what they're going to do. And one of the highlights of what they've done in years past is Kenny G every single day. And it would be great if somehow they could get Kenny G there. Maybe. Who knows? Number 2, doing an event outside, maybe an event outside of the show. So that might be a little bit tough. But maybe it's still hanging out after this show. And sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather. I'll see. Maybe I do. I'll try and mute myself for clearing my throat here, but powering through on the early stages of a cold here. But an outside event, maybe it's just sticking around, having something to do for fans after the show for an hour or 2 and heading out. I'm sure it's going to be a blast there. Unfortunately, that's something I'd like to see. Unfortunately, that's not something I'm going to be a part of, because you already heard my itinerary plan. It's going to be get there, show, go. Because we got to get back, because I got baby number 3 on the way, coming here any day. So what's number 1? Number 1 we want to see on that list? Greg Cody. Dude's been on a heater. He's got to be featured one of these days, got to get some bidet up, some hee-haw 3. You know it. You got to see Greg Cody out there in the wild. Will he survive Vegas and doing live shows like that? Who knows? Will he have a back in my day there? Probably not. That seems, because if it's going to be live show, he's going to say, you know, he's got his Tuesday excuse there, or Super Bowl week as an excuse. He's got a lot of excuses there. But you know what? Cousin B and Nasty Nate, we've been starting making these back in my days. And you know what, folks? Did I take a week off? No. I've got a back in my day. And that puts not only the show firmly in the lead of 3-1, back in my days done, that puts me personally in the lead. And, you know, we'll keep track of the show. And again, I want to, any fans, you got a back in my day you want to write, send it to us. Record yourself, send it to us. Hit us up on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. Excuse me. Had to clear my throat there. Hit us up. If you send it to us, we'll see if we can put it on the show, as long as, you know, it meets our high standards. But here's my back in my day. It's a little different. I did something, it's not quite, it works, but it is something different. So here we go, folks. And now it's time for Nasty Nate's Back in My Day. The Cowboys. I remember as a young kid, part of my introduction to football and football Sundays were the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Not mine, though. Most Sundays, I'd find myself inevitably watching the Dallas Cowboys and rooting against them. It was because they were too good. They were the team you hated because they had so much success. And who can forget Troy Aikman carving up the Washington whatevers in a 21-10 victory, going 9 of 19 and 3 interceptions, just absolutely carving them up. And of course, Emmitt Smith piling up over 18,000 yards in what's probably history book's most untouchable record before he waddled off to Arizona for 2 seasons. I hated the Cowboys, and it was a battle. Often rooting against them was a losing proposition. Maybe this hatred was born from being a Jake and the Snake fan. Arizona Cardinals, my second favorite team. And then playing the Cowboys twice a year, consigned to the basement of the NFC West in perpetual butt whoopings. But we'll always have that 1998 wild card win. And that, folks, is where perhaps things changed. For since that 20-7 drubbing, the Cowboys, America's team, the pinnacle of success, have become a laughingstock. A decade of no playoff wins. Jake Delhomme carving them boys up in a 29-10 rout. Tony Romo fumbling the snap on a field goal. Dez Bryant's catch that never was. And Ezekiel Elliott getting pancaked as a center. Yeah, that one gets me every time, just because I was a center and you just picture him getting pancaked. And Jerry Jones says he's going to bring back Mike McCarthy. Oh, well, I was about to say I hope he does, but he shouldn't. Because the Cowboys are a husk of their former greatness, a joke. Cackling in the expanse of Stephen A's many spacious and luxurious abodes, made all the more glamorous with each passing Cowboys playoff defeat. So Jerry, give up the reins. Step down as GM. Bring back the Cowboys of old. Bring in Bill Belichick. Crack open the bank and pay that man his money. Because America needs its team. And it needs its villain to root against. I'm Nasty Nate, and that's how it was back in my day. So there it is, you guys. Another back in my day, and we're up 3-1 on Greg Cody, and me personally 2-1. So let's go. Greg Cody, you don't stand a chance. And in fact, I don't know. I might try to be consistent and see how long I can go doing one every week. And then watch, I'm not going to be able to do one next week. Probably because I got a kid on the way. So just a heads up. Again, baby number 3, girl, about to become a girl dad. Already got 2 boys. That's coming on the way. So that could affect some of the stuff that we're doing here at the Fan Le Batard Show, the fastest growing Dan Le Batard Show fan YouTube channel. Go ahead, comment. I'm going to put a poll up on Spotify. Leave us a review there and answer our poll question. What are things you'd like a back in my day written about? Sometimes you just need that idea, and then you can craft the back in my day. It's getting that good idea to write something about that can be challenging. So help us out. Send us your ideas too. Get involved, people. That's the best part about the Le Batard Show, the community. So love your love your support and appreciation. And that being said, something I didn't love was this last weekend's playoff games. And I'm wondering, is this the worst playoff weekend in a while? Is the worst super wild card weekend? I think it might be the worst super wild card weekend since it expanded. There was like one game that was close. That was Detroit and LA. All the other games, blowouts. I mean, you got Chiefs, Dolphins, blowout. Bucks, Eagles, blowout. Cowboys, Packers, blowout. Although it was funny, right? Hilarious to see that happen. Blanking on, Steelers, Bills. That one actually was close until the fourth, but then, still blowout. And honestly, it was really never in doubt. Okay. Although I'm not going to lie. I was like, are the Steelers actually going to do this? So I don't know. Maybe now I'm talking myself into it, but no. Was this the worst weekend? Because if I go back through, I go 2022, 4 one-score games, 4 out of 6. Great games. 2021, 2 one-score games. 2020, 3. Honestly, I think this was the worst playoffs in terms of competitive, entertaining games since 2016, before the playoff expansion, where all 4 games were a blowout. I think off the top of my head, it was like Seahawks and somebody. Seahawks and somebody, Giants and Packers in there. But none of the games were close that first weekend. So this is the worst playoff weekend in terms of entertaining close games since 2016. 7 years or 8 years. But we'll see. Hopefully we got Mahomes, Allen coming up again. I don't know about you, but I'm rooting for Josh Allen to finally break through. And I've also been down on the Chiefs this year, so I got to hope that what I've been saying comes to fruition, right? So I'm going to be team Josh Allen there on the Bills. We've got Ravens, Texans, CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson. See what CJ Stroud can keep doing. As a Titans fan, don't quite like it that we might have one of the next great quarterbacks in our division. Doesn't make me feel good, especially since it seems like we're completely blowing it up and starting it over. Doesn't seem like Derrick Henry's coming back. We got rid of Variable. I don't know. Maybe it's so antithetical to who I am, but is this a year to jump ship in fandom? But I cringe thinking about that. I could never do that to a team that I chose randomly based on the fact that I liked their jerseys when they were a completely different team, the Houston Oilers, and I love the color baby blue, and those were amazing uniforms. Then we've got Green Bay, San Francisco. Can Jordan Love do what Aaron Rodgers could not? Beat the Niners? We'll see. Although again, I'm ambivalent. I go back and forth there. Wouldn't mind seeing Packers do an upset, but I like Brock Purdy. I like the Niners. Want to see him advance. Again, last week I talked like I didn't think they were going to make it, but I'm rooting actually for the number 1 seeds. Then Tampa Bay and Detroit. Boy, again, that one go back and forth. I think I like Baker Mayfield and his story there, so seeing him advance would be a great story. But seeing the Lions make it to a championship game, also great. I think I'm leaning more towards the Lions, but I wouldn't be disappointed if somehow Baker pulls it out. So those are my rooting interests for this weekend's playoffs. Who are you rooting for, huh? Go ahead, comment down below. Let us know. What did you think of this bomb that was the playoffs this last weekend of the Super Wild Card? All these blowouts. And speaking of blowouts, we're going to end the show on this. It's something I've got to address as a huge big-time fan of the Breaking Bad universe. It was outrageous that Better Call Saul had 53 Emmy losses. Absurd. Breaking Bad is one of my all-time favorite shows, and I was excited about Better Call Saul when it was first announced, and also like, okay, so how good can this show be? And for me personally, in the end, I like Better Call Saul better than Breaking Bad. For me, it's perhaps my all-time favorite show. If I had to list like all-time favorite shows, I'd go maybe like Better Call Saul 1, and there's really such small minimal, like Better Call Saul 1, The Wire 2, Breaking Bad 3, Mad Men 4, and even Mad Men I could consider. When I rewatch these things, they all change. Mad Men could easily jump into the 1 position for me. Huge Mad Men fan and John Hamm fan, which, by the way, Adnan, let me remind you, maybe John Hamm didn't want to take a photo with you because he remembers your short little bit that you did on Cinephile of great actor or great role. And I believe the one time you did that, who was the actor you did? John Hamm. And what was your conclusion? Great actor or great role? It was great role. To which, if you've been a long-time listener of this, I brought that beef up with Chris Cody. John Hamm, not appreciated for his diversity. Been enjoying him in the most recent episode of Fargo, although I will say, like, accent work could use a little bit of work. But there's some actors where, like, no matter how they talk, they sound like themselves. But I think he's done a really good job acting in Fargo. And I wonder, Adnan, if you were to revisit that, would you change your opinion? And I'm guessing they probably stopped doing that bit on Cinephile because they realized if we want to get people on our show, we probably shouldn't do something that if people found out, like, oh, hey, yeah, they talked about you on this movie podcast and they said you're not a good actor, you've just had a good role. And they probably put the kibosh on that because you don't want to have people not be part of their show because you offended them. And maybe that's why John Hamm doesn't want to take a selfie with you, Adnan. You think about that? Sorry about your Eagles, by the way. Epic collapse there. But back to Better Call Saul travesty. My all-time favorite show. The fact that Better Call Saul did not win anything in that time. I mean, Succession, great. I don't think I actually finished my top 5 shows. Succession might be, man, the OLI on my top 5, like maybe Succession is 5 because that was a fantastic show. Dark sliding in at 5, Netflix show. OLI, Mr. Robot. That season did have a couple, like 2, season 1, fantastic. 2,
sometime later.
So here's why it's a travesty that Bob Odenkirk didn't win. Oftentimes when you have these great shows, when you get to the end of it, if they haven't received a nomination, there's an expectation that, like, now that it's its final season, it may not even be the best of the final seasons. We're going to reward you for this great show that you put forward. And Succession also ran a similar timeline to that. And honestly, Better Call Saul got better each season that it progressed to where it's one of the rare shows where every single season, in my opinion, gets better and better to where when it got to the final season of that show is one of the best seasons all time of any TV show. And the fact how they did tie in and add on to the Breaking Bad universe. But here's why it's a travesty that Bob Odenkirk didn't win. Because he carried the show. did Kieran Culkin and everyone on Succession do an amazing job? Yes. But that is a ensemble show. There's 4 siblings and a dad that carry that show, and then some key characters surrounding it. But there isn't a person like a Bob Odenkirk who the show is about and who is carrying the main dramatic lift of the show. Same with Rhea Seehorn. Jeremy already mentioned that on the show. The weight and the lift that both of them did in carrying this show as a show centered around 2 people and their growth, their lack of growth, their changes was an incredible job by 2 people that should have been, in my opinion, rewarded over what was a great, worthy performance, but in a ensemble that would added. And not that, Bob Odenkirk wasn't helped out by the other people in the show. Everyone in Better Call Saul was amazing too, but the equality of roles and time on screen was not the same. Bob Odenkirk was the lead. In Succession, you had, well, maybe not 4 siblings, you had 3 siblings and then Tom, all splitting time and carrying an even amount of weight in terms of just dramatic and narrative arc of the show. So it's a travesty that Bob Odenkirk didn't win, and you could see it. I mean, when they played that video, you could see the frustration in his face, and that's just sad to me that that's actually going to stick with me, the frustration that's on his face when he didn't win. Because even if you just think about Bob Odenkirk and where he was when Breaking Bad started and what people expected, Bob Odenkirk was not known as a dramatic actor. And through Breaking Bad, he completely morphed who he was seen as and showed the acting chops he had. And the dude has nothing to show for it. That is a shame. And that's where we're gonna end the show. Sometimes you gotta sit in that disappointment. And I'm disappointed, Bob Odenkirk, but you're in my personal record book, you got 4. I'm gonna go 4 Emmys for Better Call Saul, and my all-time favorite show currently, hands down, unless I rewatch one of my other shows that I listed. Well, folks, this is the end. Thank you for sticking around. We'll catch you next week. Unless I have a baby, then we'll see what happens. Thank you for all your support. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, follow us on all the social medias at Shave Stop, Fan Lebitard Show on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Subscribe. What are we at last week? Below 800. Where are we now in subscribers? 823 last time I checked. Rockets, fastest growing Dan Lebitard Show fan YouTube channel. Are you a part of it? Get on it, ladies and gentlemen. Nasty Nate, out.